Hey everyone, it's Mark, your firefighter, realtor, and out-of-state investor. Today I have an amazing guest on. Tom Brickman goes by Frugal Gay on social media, and he is a real estate investor, out-of-state investor. He's an entrepreneur. He's a social media content producer. And Tom, welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me. That's a lot of titles. I haven't heard content producer, but I guess at this point I am because I'm always plugging in stuff. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for. I know you're super busy, but I love all the content that you put out there, and I'm always following you on Twitter and social media. So I'm glad we were able to connect. And we were talking before this, and I kind of forgot all about it. But you actually mentioned that you were born in Honolulu, Hawaii.
I was, and I. That's one of my fun things that I can tell people, and people would never guess it. But my dad was stationed there when I was born. So I was born at the medical center in Honolulu, and that was why I'm so awesome now because I got started off right in Hawaii and was more laid back.
That's awesome. So, do you have any properties here? Like, what is your portfolio kind of, or give us a little background about yourself?
I wish that I had a property there. And I talked to my dad about why didn't you buy when you were here back in the 80s when it was a whole lot more affordable and not so built up. My portfolio is split between Toledo, Ohio and Dallas, Texas. I have 14 in Toledo, a mix of multifamily, commercial, and single family. And in Dallas, I have a whole bunch of single family and one multifamily. And I am based in Dallas. Everyone assumes I'm in Ohio because I'm always posting pictures of when I'm there, but I am actually Dallas based and I go to Toledo to work on properties and take fun pictures of the historic Old West End and share my voyage there.
Wow, that's some great information there. I love, like I said, I love your story. And really, what kind of caught me to your Twitter account was you talking more about kind of your side hustles and kind of how you, I guess, built up this money to start getting into real estate. So, we'll talk about your portfolio a little bit later, but I kind of want to go into a little bit about, I guess, how did you get started? You talk about this a lot on Twitter, but how did you get the funds to get your first few properties?
So the first one was a multifamily in Toledo. I was in college. I was 21, and I worked at the Gap. I made $8.50 an hour. I was buying Gap stocks from the time that I started with them, and I cashed in my Gap stock when I was 21 because I had no other money. I was a broke college student, and I used that as my down payment on my first property. I put $9,000 down, and it was a $90,000 duplex. I lived upstairs. I rented out the downstairs. My mortgage, tax, and insurance was $738, and my tenant downstairs paid $600. So it was like a win-win. I didn't know where I could live for $138. I had no idea about the cost of hot water heaters and furnaces until that following winter when it got really cold and I had a few minutes to figure out how to pay for a new furnace. But that was the beginnings. Um, the second property I bought was in Cleveland, Ohio. It was a money pit from the day I bought it till the day I sold it. I sold it on my birthday. I was excited to write that check to the title company. I lost a lot of money on that property. That's exactly why there was a financial crisis. And then when I started buying in Dallas, and I bought at least one a year in Dallas starting in 2009, I would eBay and sell enough to buy properties, and I focused on the ones that the investors ignored. So I was buying inexpensive 9,500, 12,000, $14,000 condos because I could sell enough eBay and turn around and buy one and then sell enough eBay and do another one next year. And I did that for a couple years under the radar, which was nice because I didn't have competition in the space because everything, again, was at the bottom. And then over time, I've traded those into single family properties and done like kind exchanges on some of those and traded them up. And that's really how the wheels started, was with eBay. And that gap position without me even knowing it. I just didn't want the kids in school to make fun of me. So it really worked itself out and got me that first property.
That's an amazing story. I mean, I love the whole grit and, figuring out how you're going to buy these properties and how to build up these funds. And I think definitely that's kind of what a lot of people have a hard time, especially in, like Hawaii, where the properties are so expensive. The entry point is so difficult, but you seem to have found a way to figure out how to, like I said, have a side hustle and build up your income. So, let's kind of talk about the eBay side of it. Like, do you like how does that work? I've never really gone down that rabbit hole, so I'm kind of curious as to like, do you sell specific products on there, or how do you find out what you're going to sell?
So I stick with my niche, and I'm mostly in small, easy to ship items. If it's under a pound, I'm usually interested in it. And so I focus in on makeup, bras, lotions, perfumes, body wash, all those types of items, especially because of the how easy it is to ship, and I fulfill my own items. And I started that because I was able to find them very, very inexpensive, especially in Ohio. I started with purses that were $1.50, so it was a very small $50 investment to buy a big shopping cart of purses. And I started selling them not because I liked purses, but because I needed to pay for college books and I didn't have enough for them. And I would sell 2 purses a week because I had 2 colors, and eBay didn't even have buy it now at this point. So I had to wait for them to get bid up and auctioned off. And I'd go to the post office and ship my 2 purses every week, and it helped me pay for those books for that semester. And Gap also offered tuition reimbursement, so I had to pay for the classes up front, and then I got reimbursed at the end of the semester. So that was kind of how it started. It was a necessity thing because I was spending my money on food and rent and all the other bills that come to you early, and you don't realize how expensive everything is until you're on your own. And then eBay kind of made all the bills that I couldn't afford affordable by just kind of figuring out that side hustle. And they may be $1.50 in Toledo, Ohio, but there were people buying them all over the country paying $60 for these purses. So that was just how I figured it out early.
I love it. So, are you still currently selling on eBay?
I am. I have an eBay store, and I call eBay my safety blanket at this point. Whenever I have an expensive renovation going or a really expensive month where everything seems to break and the roof is broke and the furnace is broke, eBay is kind of those, I can ramp it up, or I can. There were a few months last year when I was looking at the end of the year, I'm like, oh man, I definitely put it on vacation mode for these 3 months. And that's what's nice about it, is that you can turn it on vacation mode when you're not able to fulfill orders. I actively source. So if I find the right deal, I'll pick it up. So I won't just stick with my niche, but typically I can answer questions on what I'm selling, and I know what I'm selling, and I can source it from certain wholesalers or certain stores and turn it into more real estate or improvements on real estate. And that's what I've done for the past 18 plus years.
So what I'm hearing is it also sounds like the real estate side, there's been, expenses and hiccups, and it hasn't been as passive as a lot of people like to, promote it on social media. So which one do you think, your eBay or dealing with rental properties, has been harder for you?
I would say dealing with rental properties for sure has been tougher than eBay, because when I have a tough seller on eBay, I can refund the money and block them and never look back. And if I have a tenant who's calling about a leaking roof or a broken furnace, I can't block them. So I have to figure out a solution, and quickly, because a lot of it's time sensitive. And if it's freezing out, you've got to get someone over there to get the furnace done. You've got to get the water back on, whatever it is. So real estate comes with its own pros and cons. I would still pick real estate over eBay, but I think real estate is a little bit tougher than eBay.
But like you kind of touched on a little bit, it's, real estate is, you have some problems in the issue, but like in Dallas, I kind of think you said you scaled up to better properties. And that's kind of what we're all working for, right? We start off entry point properties, and then hopefully down the road we can scale up into less headache of properties. Um, do you self manage the properties in Toledo?
I do not. I have a professional management company on two doors, and then I have an in-house where he gets paid $20 an hour, and he reports to me. And so I'm kind of helping with those 12 because I give him lists on do this or do that or check on this. And those 12 kind of in general get taken care of better than the other two. Because he's more vested and wants to get his hours and get paid and do the work and check things, and there's more systems in place. And the other two that are with the management company, I struggle with a lot of times where they're just not upkept like the other 12, because I'm a small fish in a very large pond of property owners. So those two are lower priority than the ones that I'm managing self. So it's kind of a hybrid. I'm not there. I'm not talking to the tenants. The tenants contact my hourly manager, and he runs. And there's one tenant that I inherited when I bought the property, and she will only pay cash. So he'll run and get that and get it deposited over in the bank. But I do have, I kind of know what's happening at those 12 regularly because I'm giving him lists and following up and making sure that they're taken care of properly.
Sorry, this question is kind of coming out of left field, but I just thought of something just now. You talking about the managing. Do you qualify as a real estate professional?
I do not. I
Oh,
have taken the classes. My father is a licensed realtor now. He retired. He was a police officer for almost 30 years, and he is a realtor now, but I am not a licensed professional.
no, no, no. I'm talking more about for the tax, using like cost segregation studies, like, because if you're actively involved in your properties, so you don't qualify as a real estate professional?
I
Hmm.
do not.
Huh.
Maybe I could explore that more now that I'm not working my traditional job with my
Yeah.
accountant this year, but in the past I have not. And really I ramped up last year with leaving my job, so I added 5 doors last year, and maybe it would make more sense. I'm actively managing the short-term rental. I was very involved with that, putting together furniture and cleaning and doing that one. Um, but I will explore that as we venture down the tax season road.
Yeah, I expect, I'm not, well, I have an accounting degree, but I'm not a CPA. But yeah, especially if you have a short-term rental. I mean, I think you could, that's the short-term rental loophole for the real estate professional status. And then I'm not sure what your husband does, but you can offset his active income possibly. But no, yeah, just sorry, this just came out of left field as you were talking. Um, but yeah, I mean, we can do another show on that later as you get more information on that. But let's kind of go back to your portfolio a little bit. I'm curious as to, was someone in your family into real estate, and that's why you kind of got the bug for real estate, or how did you head down that path?
So we were always conservative. My dad had one rental when I was in grade school. Again, he was a police officer. He was just a patrolman when I was growing up and worked his way up to sergeant, lieutenant, and captain, and then left as chief. But my grandma and grandpa owned their own real estate company. And when I bought that first one, my dad brought out my grandma, which I was like, why are you bringing her? But she came, and we had three that we looked at that day. And there was one that I loved. And then I threw in the other two just to kind of like placate. So we had three to look at. And grandma made me pick the ugliest one, and she explained why. And we stood on those front steps, and I'm like, but I like this one. And she's like, no, this one's going to make you money. And I still own that one today, 20 years after grandma told me to buy it. And I am glad that I passed on the one that I wanted, because she was right. It didn't really have the ability to make money like the other one. So my grandparents definitely were in it and saw the value in building wealth through real estate. So at the time that I bought that duplex, it wasn't a wealth building skill. It was a I don't want to pay rents move. But they planted that bug being in real estate all those years. And there are I mean, it's a great way to. I'm finishing one from August, and I was looking at the appraisal came back at, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Just by me buying this, I'm up almost $20,000 because I put it back together and it turned out beautifully. And I mean, I don't, a lot of people would have to work a really long time to make that 20,000. And yes, I did spend 6 months finishes and contractors and electricians and the city permits, but it turned out fantastic, and that gets me fired up because that investment is going to generate me income every month now, and I have extra equity in it that I wasn't expecting off the bat. So I think that it's a great way to really, I never made over six figures when I worked at the movie theater, and I was able to drastically move my net worth and my stop working date by buying real estate.
I I love it. That story about your grandma is awesome. I love that. I mean, yeah, I can see that too. Looking at properties, and your grandma's telling you, no, you bought the ugliest one on the block, and you're just like, I like this one though. But yeah, I mean that's a great story. You kind of just touched on it too. So the movie theater job is what you're just referring to, that you just kind of quit or just left recently.
Yeah, so it's been just over a year that I left, and so I did just over 15 years with them. And I knew about 10 years in that I did not want to move to another company to get more pay. It was, I want to get myself out of here. So probably 5 years in is when I started working on it. 10 was when I'm like, okay, I can actually make this work. I had put in my notice in 2019, but it stayed out of self-doubt. So I stayed an extra 2 years, and I left January of 22 is when I left and felt confident leaving.
Did COVID have anything to do with you staying a little bit longer, or?
It hadn't started yet. And that's a big regret. Was I was disappointed that I stayed with them through that whole period, because it was just a really rough 2 years. But I got a lot of, like, I bought a hoarder house. There were several properties that I picked up over those 2 years that I wouldn't have been able to pick up without that job. So it worked itself out. I probably would have been fine in 2019, but I positioned myself better. So when I did leave in 2022, I had several more doors that were producing income.
So what's the final goal? Like, is there a certain amount of properties you want, doors you want, or cash flow? Like, I guess what's the final goal here?
So that 10 was always the answer, and I'm at 22 right now. And what I've been doing is my husband owns one, and we're looking at a second door for him, and I think it's great. He's actually 10 years younger than me. So I just turned 40, and he's turning 31 here soon. And we're building up his, so I think eventually we will sell off our portfolio down the road and retire completely, where he leaves his job, which is in the pipeline and on the vision board. But I don't have a number. I said I'd stop, but then how I make the right deal comes, like the one that I bought in August. I went home for a funeral, and I texted the realtor when I'm there, and I'm like, hey, this is a bank owned. Can you show me this? And she's like, this is really ugly, but really nice. And I'm like, just throw in this low offer. She's like, they're not going to take it because it's bank owned. And I'm like, just throw it in. It doesn't matter. Just write it up. And she wrote it up, and they accepted the next day. And she's like, you were right. And I'm like, I know it's ugly, and that's why everyone's ignoring it. So I'm sure they're sick of maintaining it and want it off the books. And I got a fantastic deal on it. So that I had no plans on buying that house in August, but I'm super glad that I did. And the renovation turned out amazing on it. It had been vacant for a couple years, and lots of hoops to get the electric on and this and that, but that's how it happens sometimes. Is it's just when you're not looking, they come into your vision, and you end up with a new door. So I bought one last month here in Dallas, and I have another one under contract in Toledo right now that will close in the next couple weeks.
That's awesome, man. What I'm kind of hearing too is, so from the beginning, from your first property, was it always kind of I guess you could say burr, or you trying to buy properties that you could add value to?
That was never the strategy, but yes, typically, especially now, the stuff that I'm buying is not the first time home buyer house. It's the been out of commission house that's been neglected or foreclosed, or the one that I closed on in Dallas was super run down, super unrentable. And it just, I'm bringing it back to life right now. We're putting in the correct finishes. We're properly doing it. It didn't have a furnace that was working. So it was just a eyesore on the street. And that's kind of been my other thing. Like even in the house that I'm sitting in, this is kind of my forever home at this point. I've traded up to this. And I remember when we bought it, it's the first time that I'm like, wow, we could actually, it's ugly, but we could move into this house. And I just don't buy a lot of houses that I could say, oh yeah, we could move into this. And that's why that was memorable when we bought this one about a year and a half ago.
So for someone, wanting to get started in real estate or a newbie, would you suggest to them like your strategy of from the beginning, like the first property that they get into, be like maybe that Burr method or kind of a property that they can add value to?
For sure, or house hack, because I technically house hacked that first one without knowing what house hacking was. I lived upstairs, rented out the downstairs. Burr's getting tougher as the interest rates keep going up. So I would never say go all in at that, but there's still opportunities out there. When I bought that one in August, I had no idea what the value would be 6 months from then, and it has increased, and it is still pretty competitive. We're in March, so it's not a flood of listings, but we know that there'll be a pipeline of listings coming out because it's springtime and it usually picks up. But stuff is still selling, and I think that there's opportunities for the right thing. If I were restarting again today, I would start with the house hack method, even in Dallas. And if I couldn't get into a multifamily, because that's one thing that people are like, Dallas doesn't have multifamilies, Dallas doesn't have affordable multifamilies. So I'd start, when I started with the first one in Dallas in 2009, it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, and I rented out the other bedroom and to a roommate, and that covered my mortgage. So I think that there's different ways to get in every market, and you just have to see what makes the most sense, what can you afford down payment wise, and what's going to get you going. And that's really the other thing, is people get so stuck in that I don't know what to do and just sitting on the sidelines. And even I bought one last year in May, and a friend bought one last year in May, and she was worried about overpaying because that was still when everyone was bidding way over asking, and she paid 10,000 over asking. But now we're looking at stuff and they're 20,000 above what she was paying last year. So she's glad that she jumped in and got that one, even paying 10,000 over asking. She's got a great rate on her loan. And position yourself strong. The first property can make or break you. I had that money pit. I'm glad that I had the first one that grandma told me to buy before the money pit, because it helped offset some of that loss. And I'm working with a client right now who bought a house from a flipper, and they put lipstick on a pig, and it's been a terrible property for him. So understand what you're looking at. And like within 2 minutes of sitting there, I'm like, did you look at the Zillow price history? I'm like, they bought this property and 4 days later they listed it for $57,000 more. Do you think that they did anything besides throw up some gray paint in those 4 days? So I think that's another thing that people kind of mess up on. They saw that it looked nice with some nice light fixtures, and yeah, it did look nice on the surface, but the second you went into major systems, it was a money pit for the whole time they owned it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the market was crazy, and like I said, people were just doing lipstick flips and making a killing off of it. And but we kind of touched on this, but for some people out there that may not know what the Burr method is, it's buy, rehab, rent, then refinance, and then repeat. So like you're saying, yeah, it's getting a lot tougher with the higher interest rates. But definitely, like you were talking about, you touched on the house hacking. I think that is a super good way to get into the real estate game. And when did you know that you were doing house hacking at the time, or is it kind of like you said, you just
I was being frugal. When I got that roommate, it's like, hey, and it was a big deal because we both had our own bathroom, so we weren't, sharing a bathroom, but it was just a way for me. I was making very little at the theater at that time, and it was a way for me to get in, and that covered most of my mortgage. So then the money that I was saving was going to the next property, and that was just how I knew. I didn't hear house hacking up until a couple of years ago, and when I bought the next one after that first one, it was a 3-bedroom, 3-bath townhouse, so I could have 2 roommates, and that covered over my mortgage. So it was just a way to, and you could get in with a 5, 10, 15% down in those, and then my house payment's covered by the 2 roommates, and you could move the money to another property, and that was just kind of how I could get in lower rate and continue to build my wealth and invest anything extra that I'm not spending on rent or mortgage rather into another property.
So so as you built up your portfolio and you're starting to generate cash flow and some passive income, do you think the frugal gay is that name ever gonna change, you think? Or is that
I
kind of
think I'm I think I'm stuck with it at this point, and I'm okay with that. And I did start it unsuccessfully in 2011, then 2014, and I ramped it up on social media back in March of 2020. So I'm actually just at my 2-year mark of really going with it. And I was worried about, okay, I'm leaving my job. What am I going to do to fill my time? And this was a way to share my journey. It wasn't a way to generate income, but I meet a lot of people, especially in my community, which is why I put gay right in my name, um, that are stuck in this paycheck to paycheck mindset. And I can't build wealth. I don't make that money. I make tips. I don't know how to invest. And I wanted to share that I've had some successes and I've had plenty of failures, but this is what I did to escape. And that was my thought with starting that and sharing the good and the bad and kind of giving it a realistic side as opposed to just giving it a Instagram reel that shows me sitting on a beach in Hawaii with my drink. And that was the thought process there. And it's morphed into some coaching, and it's morphed into other ways to connect with other content creators and connect with podcasts. And this was never the original vision of me starting that brand and the website and the social media, but that's what it's turned into, and I'm happy with the progress that it's made. I just did the tax portion of the Frugal Gay for last year, and I still ended up in the red, but I did actually generate some income, which was surprising as we were sitting here doing that.
Oh, you're killing it though. I mean, I mean, like I said, I love all your stuff, your content, and like you said, you just keeping it real and just kind of telling your journey and telling your story. And so, I know you mentioned your husband has one property, right? And we're working on the
Mm-hmm.
second one. Was he always into real estate, or did you kind of have to convince him on it, or?
Oh yeah, I was like, we need to stop spending money on shoes, and we need to find a way to, because he doesn't buy like the nice $120 shoes. He buys the $680 shoes and the ridiculous watches. So there was he's like, what would you do with this? I'm like, we need to find some way for your money to make money. And we had a money conversation, and it was a solid his one property that he owns was a solid property at a solid price, and it generates $400 in cash flow a month. And I'm like, we need to do this, because if we don't, you're just going to go buy shoes and watches and things that we don't need. So this is a solution. And it's eye-opening, because he's getting one person who will ask him things, and then he kind of understands what I'm getting from 22 people that are asking me things. And it's been a good experience for us both. When we get fun money or something like that, he understands, oh, maybe I should do installation as opposed to just go blowing this all on this strip or that. And then he balances me more, because I think early on I went too extreme where I wasn't enjoying myself and taking good vacations. So he'll map out that, and I think we balance very well in that aspect.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like you being the frugal gay, and then you talking about him buying $600 shoes, and I was trying to just figure out how that dynamics came together, how it works. Because I mean, a lot of times couples, I mean, usually that's money problem or money issues is kind of the thing that kind of divides people, and that's amazing. You guys made it work out,
He
and
he
that you
he
convinced him that he has to make his money work for
he's
him and make
he's
his
owned his
money.
property 3 years now, and he understands at this point. He wants another one. He understands, and even in that short time, he bought this thing for, I think it was 75 or 85, and now it's worth 130 or 140. So he sees, okay, yeah, this does make more sense than buying these shoes, because that 75 or 85 is now 120, 130. And you just have to kind of map it out for some, especially starting out. And that's another thing that I try and do with the frugal gay is paint a realistic picture. So this is what, the first 5 doors, I didn't make a lot of money, but it took me getting to 5 to actually be like, oh wow, I can actually make money doing this. And it took me getting rid of that money pit. But it was very hard those first couple of years, because I would make money from the one, and then it would go into the money pit or go into this other property, and that doesn't get talked about much either on social media.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. I mean, I don't know if you know my story, but yeah, I kind of went all in and I got 14 properties fairly quickly, and definitely, I didn't do well, planning with reserves, and like I tell people, I think the first few tricked me where it just went so smoothly that I just thought, oh yeah, this is great, and I went all in, and of course, then like you're saying, there's some that have problems, have issues, and repairs and maintenance come up, and I didn't prepare well for that. But going back to your husband, his first property, was it one where you guys had to rehab it, or was it kind of a turnkey property off the
It
bat?
it had like very like under we did under $3,000 in renovations. It was very little. It was all cosmetic. It was nothing structural or any of that. And that was a perfect first property where we could paint and we could change some light fixtures and get it up for rent and get a tenant in there. So it was, and that's really when I talk with people, I'm like, that's the type of property you're looking for, is the one that has good bones, but it's ugly, and a little paint and some nice light fixtures can make it stand out amongst the pack, especially if it's in the right spot.
Yeah, so I'm helping people, try to get started out of state investing and everything. And I think that's the one thing too, is like, for you, I can tell, you see the benefits, you're going to push through the headaches. And even myself, we're going to push, but not everyone has that mindset. And, if they bought one and there's problems, and that I think that's why a lot of people quit, or they, they don't get started. They see the headaches, but that's like you're saying, kind of a nice, solid, basic, kind of a rent ready turnkey type property where there's not a lot of work that needs to be done is kind of good way to get started and kind of get your feet wet. So I totally agree with that. I love that.
Yes.
So, so this whole journey, real estate, the eBay, the entrepreneurship, was there any type of book, or was there a movie, like you worked the movie, was there a movie or something that kind of just changed your mindset and put you down this path?
So that 4 Hour Work Week with Tim Ferriss was a pivotal book that I read early on, bought Audible, re-listened to, and it just changed my mindset of, I don't need to work until I'm 70. I can I don't want to work for another employer. I want to build something myself. And when I got to that fifth property is probably when I discovered that book, or shortly thereafter. And it's just one of those that made me think outside the box of, I can come up with something. I don't need to be chained to a desk, or passing out popcorn. And when I left my job last year, I didn't realize the benefit of having ownership of my time. And I think I spent more time with my family in the past year than I had in the prior 18 years. And it's amazing being able to play Monopoly with them on a Friday night and not have to run into work or answer this work email or talk to a boss. And that's a it's one of the best benefits of doing what I've been doing for the past 18 years is that I built something that can generate income without me having to stay chained to a desk.
I know you mentioned your dad. He was in he's a law enforcement, and did he ever, try to get you to go that the pension route and the job security type route? And
No, because he had one rental when I was growing up, and I think he has 7 or 8 now. He and I have a very different real estate strategy. And even yesterday when I was talking with him, he was like, I think I'm going to sell off this one because I'm tired of dealing with the tenant and I'm tired of dealing with that. So he handles it more loosely than I do. And same with repairs and this and that. And the one that he's having a problem with is a friend who was a retired police officer. So he sees the value in real estate. He was raised, grandma was saying the same things to him as to me, and he sees it too. He didn't go as far as I have with all the doors, but he's been super supportive. There was a point where I was working on the hoarder house and I was out of money, so he flew down and helped me paint and helped me empty, and he sees the vision for sure. And a lot of people get stuck on that. This is a trashy house. Why are you spending your time, energy, and effort in this hoarded house? But really, it's in A class or A minus class neighborhood, and it's the ugliest one on the block, but it has a ton of value to bring it back to life. So he sees it. He just hasn't done it as extreme, but he has definitely invested in real estate to help him as he transitioned away from law enforcement.
yeah, that's awesome. See, because both of my parents work for the city, so they both have pensions and great benefits. And I mean, I'm sure that rubbed off on me in some way. And I'm a first responder, and definitely, I kind of got trapped in the mindset that, oh, I have a pension and get a secure job. And but that's awesome that your dad was in real estate or had the vision of seeing real estate benefiting both of you. But that book, yeah, definitely. I haven't. I always hear about it. I haven't got a chance to read it yet, though. But that's definitely one I'm gonna check out. But right now, I kind of want to also get into this selfless promotion period. So like, where can people find you on social media? And
Well, I'm most active over on Twitter at the Frugal Gay 11, and it's not the Frugal Gay was already taken, so that's why it's the Frugal Gay 11. If you are not over there, you are welcome to find me on Instagram, on TikTok under the same name, and then of course my website, either Frugal Gay or the Frugal Gay. Either one will take you to me, and you can check out services and shoot me an email, ask me a question, whatever you guys want over there through the website.
so you have a course now? You do have a course, right?
I don't have a course. I do have a couple clients that do coaching with me. So I have coaching. I have some Ask Me Anything sessions that I'll do with people and getting started. And then I even have one where I'll go look at the properties with you and I'll give you my honest opinion. And that's something that I just recently did with a client who purchased a property in the market that I'm in. When I was there, we went and spent 2 days looking, and he felt a lot more secure after that. Saying, okay, this is a red flag. I don't want this. I don't. You don't want to inherit someone's problems. And a lot of times when you see these properties at great prices, they come with a great amount of problems. And that was something that the first property that I bought that grandma told me to buy, it was painted and beautiful and nice, and I didn't do an inspection, and sure enough I had water in the basement the first week. So I won't make that mistake ever again. And I try and share that, so it's worth the $400 investment to get the inspection or whatever it costs on the property in your state. And that's something I learned the hard way.
Well, so talking about social media and where people can find you, but also, like I said, I follow you on Twitter and I know I want to kind of touch on this. And it seems like, like I said, so much people are following you. I see the interaction, like you're helping a lot of people out there, but there also seems to be some people or individuals that maybe your Twitter handline or your tagline, kind of upsets or offends people, or they're questioning why do you need to put the word gay in there or whatnot.
Okay, so yes, I do. That's a question. That's probably my number one question that I get in my DMs. Next to I want to get into real estate and I don't know how. People love to just come at me and discredit me and bring a whole lot of hate because of my name and who I'm married to. And to be honest with you, I have stopped responding, engaging. I don't really, at this point, it's just, you don't have to follow me. You don't have to click follow. You don't have to like anything that I do. This is what I'm doing. I'm documenting my journey. Some people love it. Some people love the before and after. Some people learn, hey, there's rebates if you put in this toilet. And I shared that yesterday, and someone shot me a DM and they're like, that's fantastic. I've been in Dallas replacing toilets and now I can get $150 off my water bill. Thank you. Um, so yeah, there's going to be, especially as the account grows, and I'm at 46,000 over there, it comes with the negative trolls. And I mean, trolls can be good because it shows engagement and this and that. And I used to get offended and block and answer questions, and now I'm not there for the trolls. I'm there for the ones that are benefiting from it or that are making improvements and paying off debt and doing that. And that's really where I've taken this, is no matter where I go or what I say or what I do, I'm still going to have those trolls in the background. And that's part of the account as it grows. It's just part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of chuckled when I saw you tweet that the other day. That's why. But I said I love what you're doing, and I mean, but do you think using gay in your title, do you think a lot of people that reach out to you, I mean, does that make a difference or?
I to the clients that I actively have, no. I don't have a lot of gay clients. I even get hate on the other side where those in the gay community will be like, you're not gay enough, you're not doing this, you're not supporting your community. And
Wow.
it really boils down to, with that amount of followers, you're never going to be able to make everyone happy. And my goal is, I want you to see that you can do it without making six figures, and there are ways to build wealth. You don't have to live in that paycheck to paycheck mentality. And some are going to love it, and it's not going to be for everyone, and that's okay. I mean, I go full circuit. I just had a podcast drop for the Queer Money podcast today, and we went on and talked about that. And then I did another podcast interview right before yours. So I'm open to talking to anyone and everyone that wants to listen, and sharing my journey.
Well, you keep doing what you're doing, man. You're helping so much people out there, and you just keep putting out good content on Twitter and Instagram. And I love engaging. And like you said, yeah, you can message and you always respond, or you always reply back, and I love it. And that's what's super genuine about you. But before we go, and a lot of people that I've interviewed, and we talked about it before this, but as you can see, I'm kind of into superheroes. My son's really into superheroes, and you mentioned you worked at the movie theaters before, and is there any type of DC, Marvel, like superhero that kind of you relate to or you like, or any superpowers that you feel that helps you in being an entrepreneur or in this real estate journey?
So I thought about this, and at first I was like, Harley Quinn, and then I'm like, is she a hero? Is she a villain? And then I really thought about Wonder Woman and what they've done with Wonder Woman over at DC, and how fantastic the first one was. And I know it's crazy to say Wonder Woman's my favorite, but Wonder Woman, with her, even the old Wonder Woman, with the ability to see what others can't see. And that's always been something that I have been able to walk into these property and be like, it's good bones, and this is what it could be. And there's some of these that I've done really crazy renovations, and people are like, I could have never seen that in a property. So I'm a huge DC fan. I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan. I've really enjoyed Harley Quinn, the Suicide Squad, all of those type of movies I've really enjoyed along the way. So I would say Wonder Woman or Harley Quinn is probably tied.
Awesome. Any superpowers you think that you have? Or
Well, I love Wonder Woman's the lasso and the even Spider-Man with the able to the 3D vision and just able to, some of those. So I think that those are some
those would
powers that
definitely come into help.
yeah
I mean, yeah, like
yeah
inspections and yeah, I would love that. Check the pipes and the sewer. Just save a lot of headaches, or even the crawl spaces. But yeah,
yeah I yeah, and they, I love the plot and the story and the I love how it comes together. I will tell you this from working at the theater. People love to escape for 2 hours. And that was one of the things that I loved over my 15 years, is able to go into a movie and forget everything else and enjoy it on the big screen. I can't do popcorn anymore, but being able to escape reality for 2 years is something that, to me is worth going and paying $12 for a ticket. And it's just a escape. And when the recession happened back in 2008 and 2009, it was crazy how busy the theater got because people would just come in and need to escape that reality. So that's always been one of those things. And when you have a good superhero movie, when you have a good movie, it's just a nice escape.
that must have been a lot of fun. I mean, I worked at Blockbuster when there was Blockbuster years ago. I mean, that was after high school. I mean, yeah. So I think there's like one Blockbuster left or something they said, but yeah, it was fun seeing everybody coming on the weekends with their family, picking out movies and, picking out their snacks. And it was a lot of fun back then. But Tom, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm glad we were able to connect here. And people out there, go follow Tom Brickman, the Frugal Gay. I'll put all his links below. But I'm glad we got to do this. And everyone else, please like, subscribe, hit the notification button. And once again, thanks, Tom. Thanks for coming out here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.